In other news, the cicadas are going away. Anybody else notice that? Hello and welcome in. It's the Matt Murphy Radio Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Pleased to be with you. Thank you for being with us. Whatever time you're able to give us, we're certainly appreciative of it. We have 3 full hours, 180 minutes of broadcast time on this Wednesday, May 29, 2024. As I mentioned, it is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We thank you for being around. Allow me to inundate you with the pleasantries for a moment, and then we'll get into some of the content of the show. My name, as I mentioned, is Matt Murphy, and this is the Matt Murphy Radio Show. It is our episode 580 of these proceedings here between noon and 3 on Super... Well, I count the times that I fill in for Brian as well on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is LFT 88. More on that in just a moment. If you don't know what LFT means, you need to listen more often. LFT number 88 on the show. You can listen and watch in a variety of different ways, obviously on 99.7 FM. You can also listen on any internet streaming platform of your choosing. Simply dial it up and dial us up, and there you go. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You can also download our own app. We would encourage you to do so. And if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, we thank you for you masochists in the audience watching me. You have to be. I appreciate you so much. And I appreciate U.S. Pest for helping bring the Super Talk television side of things to the audience, and also to F&M Bank for their ability to collect the chats and put them over there in the corner. Understand that those chats are not always 100% of the time monitored. We do see those from time to time, and we try to respond as we can. Better yet, you might want to go over to the membersnutrition.com super text line. That's where you'll get a response, at least from me, and that's at 615-737-9986. Membersnutrition.com super text line up and running, and you're invited to participate. You can also participate on our portion of the broadcast day by dialing us up at any time of your choosing. We are a long-standing open book when it comes to telephone calls. I love to communicate, turn a monologue into a dialogue, and you can do so by dialing 615-737-9986. Has anyone else noticed that the cicadas are kind of slowly but surely? I mean, I think one of the broods, and I forget which one, I'm not going to dive into it. Y'all can tell me on the super text line if you desire, but I think one of the broods is dying out before the other brood. But they're like, what, a 5 to 6 week life cycle, and all they do, they come out of the ground and they have one thing on their mind: chirping and mating. And those two things are kind of intertwined. Although they will pee on you, according to reports that I read over the weekend. So you need to watch out for that. I'm happy to report during my motorcycle ride over the weekend that I only had 2 squash themselves on my person. And that was an improvement from the last ride that I had. Speaking of improvements, not that we didn't enjoy Mason Fleming for 28 or 30 days or however long it's been, but look who has decided to return to work. I walk in today, and I see his not-so-smiling face. And I said, no, before you talk, I'm telling this story, buddy boy. I said to him, you came back to work. And he said, and I quote, don't remind me. It's Bell K, everybody. Hey.
I ran out of money.
Only took, a month? How long have you been gone?
11 days.
11 days?
Well, that includes the weekend.
Who is running this dog and pony show that they allow lowly producers to do wraparound vacations, where you take a week-long vacation and you wrap it around a holiday and then take the day after a holiday? I don't know who decided on this. I don't know who approved it, but I want to know. Is it Mandus?
Yeah. I also, every year, I take off Thanksgiving and then the week after.
Well, we need to put a stop to that.
No, we don't.
Do you have a good time? Okay, here's what we need to do, because I know that there's a lot of excitement going on in your world and in your life. And you've been gone so long. I would like to spend a moment, because it's as much, believe it or not, folks. I mean, I know it says the Matt Murphy Show on the door, but our show consists of Mac Morey and Bell and, just a cast of characters. And we appreciate each and every one of them. And Bell is such an integral part. I mean, despite the fact that he refuses to be on the television side of things, which is why we call him Headless Bell, he's got a lot of excitement going on in his regular life. And considering that he's been off for 11 days, I thought that, and this might take a while, I don't know, but I'm going to give Bell the floor, and I think we should talk about the things that Bell did while on vacation. All right, wait, stop. See, don't stop it. Don't pull that down. You're supposed to do that after I pitch to you. I'm so glad you're back. No, Mason couldn't ruin bits like you. Okay, you ready?
He hasn't learned.
You ready? Let's do it again. All right, Belle, I'd like to give you the floor for you to tell us everything you did while on vacation. Go right ahead, sir. And that was the bit. See?
There you go.
We were proud of it. I say, you know what? I should ask you that, and you should play crickets because what did you do? Nothing?
Nothing.
How about that?
Which I'm not saying is a bad thing. Doing nothing is sort of like the point of vacation.
I want to talk about the thing that you and I talked about right before we came on air that I don't even know that you want to talk about, but we're going to talk about it because I think it's very relatable to people. For someone like me, and even someone like yourself.
The Politico piece?
No. Oh. We'll deal with the Politico piece in a moment. We'll deal with Trump trial in a moment as well. But something you said, it hit me right in the nether regions. Because this happens. I don't like sitting still. I have a very difficult time doing nothing. And you have I think I know you well enough to say, and this is not a knock, this is actually a compliment. You have an easier time of recharging your batteries. R&R, knowing that that's important for your life.
Yeah.
But we all get to a point, and I can so identify with it. Like, if you're off and you're not, like, if you're not going to Dallas to visit your friends out in Dallas, you're not going, to Alabama to visit my in-law, whatever. If you're not doing anything, at least for me, first day, great. Second day, awesome. By day, like 3 or 4 of not doing anything, at some point, I look around and was like, what am I doing with my life?
No, it literally, it took about day 5 or 6 for me. But at that point, I'm just like,
is this normal?
Shouldn't I be doing something?
Right.
I wasn't going, I got to go back to work. But it was like the one day that there was a day where I went and I did my laundry. I vacuumed. I did all this like chore type stuff. And that was the one day where I felt the most I felt like I got things accomplished as opposed to sitting around on the computer or playing video games or even just going out on a walk or something like that. I mean, after a while, you miss the structure of what your normal routine is.
Well, it gives you a sense of like who maybe, I don't know, if you deconstruct it and you give yourself no errands to run, no tasks to accomplish, nothing that anyone else is expecting of you, it can be a very humbling, I'm being serious. It can be a humbling thing because, at least for me, I have a lot of different interests. But when I'm left with that open field of vision where I don't have anything to do and I don't have any responsibilities, I feel like I become a very boring person. Like I don't really want to go out.
Not just boring, but it's like I'm bored because I'm not just boring. I'm also bored because I'm accomplishing nothing. Even if it was something to do with a hobby and I got it done, I'd be like, okay, knock that out of the park. But otherwise, it's wake up and go, okay, which episode of Andy Griffith are they rerunning today?
It reminds me of the danger of getting what you ask for. And I'm going to give you an example. There was a PBS documentary, and many of you will recall the PBS documentary name because we've actually discussed this on the show before, where a guy that I want to say he lived in some major city, let's say New York City. It might not have been New York City, but let's say it was New York City. He lived a life. He had a career. I think he lost his wife. And at the age of 55, he retired and moved to Alaska. This was back, I want to say, in the 1960s. He took with him a couple of rudimentary tools and a video camera, bought or just, squatted on a plot of land in backwoods Alaska near a river, took supplies, and lived for the next 30 years in Alaska, only coming down like once a year to visit family. By himself. Kept journals, kept a video diary, and on occasion would go into town in his canoe. But he documented himself building everything. He built his cabin. He built his food cache. He built his tools. He built his plates and cutlery, knives. He built everything by hand. He would have to go in the dead of winter. He would have to recut his path from his cabin to the river and re-auger the hole in the river so that he could get water at the river. So a lot of his day was spent, just living, right? Making sure that he could continue to survive. But at the same time, that's so very appealing to me. The idea of just getting away from everyone and everything and just being unto yourself.
Well, I'm sure it also gave him a purpose because he has to do this to survive. But without that purpose, he probably would have fed himself to a bear.
Well, but I do believe that maybe not in the winter months, but in the summer months, there were probably many days where, many days where he had zero to do. And those are the days that you don't think about when you think, man, that would be great. You go out there, you live off the land. I admit that it's appealing to me, but I think that I would shoot myself in the head within a year.
Or feed yourself to a bear.
Or feed myself to a bear within a year. Speaking of feeding, my favorite thing for today, before we get into the Trump trial and all of the rest of it, and I'm very curious where you think this goes. This is your last opportunity. Line them up during the Libertarian Lunchtime Hour at 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN, and let me know where you believe Trump trial is going. I want to hear from you. But before we do that, it turns out that this is an older story. I discovered that in my amusement of the story, but you know how things do. They recycle themselves on the internet. This is a story from about. Have you seen the video that I posted on my X machine feed?
I have not.
About the woman and her vegetarian dog. So this is out of the UK, and it's not recent. It has popped back up. Apparently, it's like from 5 or 6 years ago, where this woman said that her dog chose to be vegetarian. Right. That she changed the food up, and the dog loved the vegetarian food so much. And my dog is now a vegetarian. And they had a vet on, and the vet's like, your dog's not a vegetarian. You're just feeding your dogs are omnivores. A dog will eat whatever's in front of it.
Yeah.
Your dog,
especially if it's hungry.
Your dog is not choosing to not eat meat. You're just not giving your dog. Oh, no, my dog's a vegetarian. My dog only wants, vegetables. And my dog went. And so this is on British television. They said, okay, well, let's just do a little test. And they brought out 2 bowls. One of the bowls is filled with meat, and one of the bowls is filled with whatever vegetarian crap garbage this one was feeding her dog.
Cornmeal and
they set it down. The dog's name is Storm. Beautiful white, like husky-like dog. And he said, okay, well, just let Storm go. And, oh, really? Yeah, just let Storm go. And the dog went right to the bowl of meat. Started eating the meat. Like, at one point, paused briefly, sniffed the other bowl, and then was like, ooh, and went right back to the meat.
I got to wolf this down. Who knows when this crazy woman's going to give me meat again.
And the woman, and I looked up the full video, the full interview. The woman, to her credit, and there's about a 30-second spot of this on my Twitter. The woman, to her credit, was like, well, I guess I need to go back to feeding it meat again. Storm seems to want it. But you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the way that leftist whack job parents are treating their 3-year-olds because your 3-year-old boy put on a dress and you decide that they want to be a girl. Yep. Oh, they want to be a girl. And the only thing that you put on them are dresses from then on, and you put their hair in curlers, and you pamper them, and it's okay, it's wonderful, and they get attention because of this, and you've decided that they want to be a girl when in fact they just wanted to be a 3-year-old kid. The dog ate a piece of vegetable, and this woman decided that the dog was a vegetarian. And just because she decided, it was obviously true until it was done. I just wish that parents of these whack job parents that decide that their 3 or 4-year-old can make a decision about their quote-unquote gender dysphoria would be as gracious as this woman when presented with the evidence that it isn't true.
Well, I was sitting around with my 3-year-old, and we were having a cocktail while he got a tattoo, and
and he told me, Mama, girly boy, whatever. He can't really speak that well, but I knew what he was saying to me. All right.
Do you want the title?
Oh, yeah, I do. We're back after that. We were hit and miss on the titles while you were away. It wasn't the same. Bell, it wasn't the same while you were gone.
Thank you.
It was much, much better, but still, it wasn't this. It was
Appreciate that. I knew the shot was coming. I just didn't duck in time.
Today is Wednesday, May 29, 2024. Whether you're listening on radio, online, internet streaming, or on television, we like to title these things. It's episode 580 of the proceedings today, and Headless Bell has entitled today's episode,
Matt Murphy Show. The snark and cynicism are back to 100%.
Yeah, it's true.
Libertarian Lunch.
Thank you for being here. It's 1219 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The best spice store in Nashville, Tennessee. The best spice store in Tennessee. The best spice store in the Southeast. And I've not been to all parts of America, so I can't really say this, but I can tell you that the number one spice shop in this state is Savory Spice. And there are two locations to serve you. One is located in L&L Market, right off of Charlotte Pike, here in Nash. The other is right off the square in Franklin. And either location, they have the same great products, the same great prices, and the same friendly service. They can help you, whatever your level of expertise is in the kitchen. Maybe you don't know anything about a kitchen, but you're looking for an anniversary gift, or you're looking for a gift for a loved one that you know is a cook. Then Savory Spice is your shop. They have the Spice and Easy products that I like to tell you about. They've got the popcorn sprinkle that was a big hit when I gave it to Belle Kay over the Christmas holidays. They've got it all at Savory Spice. For the experienced chef, they shop at Savory Spice. For those that don't know their way around the kitchen, wouldn't know a salt from Adam's House Cat, they shop at Savory Spice too. They can help you at Savory Spice. So go by and see some of the deliciousness that's coming out. They got great grilling items for grilling season, and those Spice and Easy recipe packages are just for you. It's Savory Spice in Franklin, in Nashville. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The Matt Murphy Show. It's 12:24. Glad to have you with us. We're watching. Oh, look, CNN still has, it's my favorite part about this. If you have anything to say about Trump trial, now's the time to do it. 615-737-9986. Are you guys tiring of talking about this? Are you anticipating a verdict? Do you believe it will be guilty? Do you believe it will be a hung jury? Do you believe it will be an acquittal? I think acquittal is probably least likely. I am ready and prepared. I've talked around it quite enough. I'm ready and prepared to give my prediction as to what I think will happen, and I don't think many of you will like it. That said, it's been an hour and 56 minutes, so says CNN. Hashtag never CNN. Never watch CNN. It's a garbage network full of garbage people spewing garbage. I watch CNN so you don't have to. I consider it an occupational hazard. Don't do this to yourself. I'll do it to me. I'll take the bullet for you. And I do. Every day. So CNN has this count-up clock, and I don't know whoever had this bright idea, they've got to be so proud of themselves that once the jury gets the case, let's put this big box on CNN with a count-up. And right now, jury deliberation day one is at 1 hour and 56 minutes and counting. And then right beneath that ticker, which goes 156, 157, 158. I guess you guys know. For those of you in Aniana, allow me to describe how time works. Because CNN wants you to know. Oh, it just clicked to 157. Ooh. Can you hear the sarcasm dripping out of the speakers of your radio? They've been breathlessly, desperately reporting on this case that the vast majority of America either watches with detached amusement or doesn't care anything about. In the meantime, polling is suggesting that Joe Biden is being hurt, and I believe it is because of this trial in part, and in part because of his disastrous presidency, obviously, that he's being hurt. That his polling numbers are going down amongst black and Hispanic voters. I was talking to a group last night, and I won't name names. I was at an event, and we were discussing where Donald Trump falls, and Cameron Smith was at the discussion, and I'll talk to him about this in the 2 o'clock hour. Where do you think ultimately Donald Trump falls with regard to black voters? Now, it's a fool's errand to try to accurately predict this May 29th. Yeah, June, July, August, September, October. You got 5 months to go before the election happens. But considering that the black voter shift has continued from 2020 to today, one wonders if this trial's not having an impact on it. And here's what I mean. Black voters and black Americans at large generally, and I'm not trying to stereotype, but painting with a broad brush is a little more fun than you think. And I understand that we're doing that, and every individual thinks differently about these things. But as a voting bloc, black Americans believe that they have gotten the short end of the stick when it comes to our judicial system. And for many, 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 many years, it was true. And I know a lot of you folks want to forget it or want to ignore it, but ignoring it is to ignore reality. The reality of it is that if in 1950 you were accused of a crime in the state of Tennessee and you were black, you probably are not going to get a fair shot at a fair trial. That is a fact. And I don't like it any more than you do. But it was the case. And so as a residual impact of that, you have a lot of black Americans that feel like they understand what it means to be railroaded. They understand an unfair process when they see it. They believe that they have a more intimate understanding of what that looks like, and they know it when they see it, and they look at this case and they see it. They feel like Trump's getting the shaft. In the meantime, you got Trump out there he's getting support amongst prominent members of the black community, and he's out in the South Bronx doing his thing. And at some point, perception becomes reality. At some point, the individual black voters in Tennessee and in Michigan and Georgia and Pennsylvania and all of those swing states in between they eventually unburden themselves of the mental shackles that exist on the Democrat political plantation. The Democrats have kept those mental shackles as a voting bloc on the black community for far too long, and it is time that we remove them. Now, I want to say that George W. Bush in 2004 performed better amongst the black community than any president in modern times. I think we looked that up last night. That since 1960, George W. Bush in 2004, I want to say it was 14%, 14 or 15%. Donald Trump in 2020 got 12% of the black vote. I had a gentleman last night, I'm not naming names, predict to me that Donald Trump gets over 25% of the black vote. I don't believe that's true. I'm just trying to deal in reality. But I do think over 20% is possible. 20%? If Donald Trump gets 20% of the black vote, this is a landslide. Why do you believe it is so that the Democrats are so desperate to engage in identity politics over the summer months? To convince, like Joe Biden said, you vote for Donald Trump and you ain't black. My God, how racist can you be? How insulting can you be? To tell black Americans that they are not allowed off the Democrat political plantation, that no matter how poorly Democrats have performed in major metropolitan areas around the United States of America, that you must vote Democrat, otherwise you're not really black. How insulting. How insulting. I would love it if we could hear from black Tennesseans about where they are, whether you're a Biden voter, a Biden supporter, supporting a third-party candidate, or supporting Donald Trump. I wonder if I could convince you to call and talk to me about where you are mentally on this and whether or not this trial has had any impact on you. 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. As we continue, it's 1231 on Super Talk. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. In a moment, we'll be joined by Senator Bill Hagerty. He is in town for an event today. We'll find out exactly what and where. I invited the good senator, over to the studio, and unfortunately, we were not able to make that happen. I also invited, I think, Marsha Blackburn's in town either today or tomorrow. I want to say today.
Apparently, Hagerty's been taking lessons from Riley Gaines, I guess.
I suppose so. You know, Riley said, well, their reasoning's probably a little bit different. Riley told me the real reason she's not coming in. One word, creeper. I don't think she was talking about me. I've met her. Either way, Senator Bill Hagerty will be on with us in about 4 or 5 minutes or so, depending on his schedule. And in his normal place, Cameron Smith on a Wednesday edition in the 2 o'clock hour. And Sapicki, our good friend and Representative Scott Sapicki, is threatening to stop. I have no idea why. I mean, it's the summertime. What general? They're not trying to steal money out of our wallets. What are we doing there? We'll find out together. In the meantime, ask and ye shall receive. Anthony in Nashville has a thought on black voters in the state of Tennessee and beyond. Hello, Anthony. How are you?
Well, very well, thank you.
Are you an African-American voter?
That is correct.
Talk to me about where you've been and where you are with your vote and with your process.
Where I've been? Well, I've been a Trump supporter since 2016. Voted for him in 2016, voted for him in 2020, and I will be voting for him in 2024.
Have you seen, and you know, Anthony, I don't know in what circles you run, and I don't want to stereotype or mischaracterize how you live your life, but amongst your friends who happen to be black, has there been a shift in their support or non-support, or is it pretty much the same all the way through?
That's a little murky, partly because some of my friends are libertarians, not libertarians, sorry, but liberals.
Yeah, sure.
But that's their own thing. But the ones that do, or like I think my aunt's one of them, and my cousin, she is going to be voting for Donald J. Trump. She can see the writing on the wall with all the lawfare that they're doing right now. So she's like, yeah, this is probably disgusting, especially in Georgia, and they're discussing with me. I'm like, well, let's hope they vote her out. You know, so let's hope that.
I mean, so do you feel like I'm off base when I suggest that maybe this trial might have something to do with the polling shifting in Trump's favor amongst black voters?
In my opinion, the only way this trial has any effect on someone is if they've not been paying attention to anything that's been going on at all. And they're just one of those outcome-only people and not the process of how they got there. And I've spoken to some people before, they're like, we'll see what the outcome is. And I'm like, well, if you've been paying attention, you would know it's highly likely that the outcome does not matter, because if you've been watching the trial, as I have, or at least been the proceedings that's been going on, and as everyone's been commentating on it, it's like none of this is normal, and it flies in the face of due process. And if you're just a person waiting for a guilty verdict, you're going to be, well, it'll vindicate you for what you think it is, but upon appeal, which we know he'll appeal it, it will have changed everything. But by that point, it wouldn't have mattered because you already voted and changed your mind. So that's how that goes. If you've not been paying attention to it, you'll be persuaded by it pretty easily. So that's something I can think about.
I love the analysis. I think it's good. Do you believe that I am correct that Donald Trump could make enough inroads? Not just in the African-American community, but Hispanic voters and whatnot. I mean, I think more than anything, the failures of the Biden administration to keep prices low, to keep prices down at the gasoline pump, to keep prices down at the grocery store, more than anything might turn some of these voters. Do you think you'll see a surge of some of those groups voting for Trump?
No, because it's not just the gas prices. There's a lot that he'd have to take into consideration. But even if he did, he's done a lot of damage to the country. And in my opinion, I don't think he can salvage it, partly because he's a flat-out racist individual, and I don't know how people don't see it. I've never seen someone pander so hard in my life about everything. And Donald J. Trump, you can call it pandering if you want to, but he doesn't even necessarily try to do it. It just kind of sort of like flows naturally as he's just comfortable doing it. But for Biden, you can see the awkwardness and the obvious racism there. I'm just like, this man is literally racist, and especially with the whole comment he made about if you don't vote for him, you're not black. I was like, I didn't know that was a requirement, but okay. So I'm just.
Well, I know. I think Joe Biden in that moment said the quiet part out loud. Right? The Democrats have come to not. I mean, it's an expectation, and I think they take for granted the 90% that they think they're going to get from the black vote.
I believe they do, and as I saw in New York, it seemed that it's going to be a shift. I can't wait to see the results of everything come this November, and the shift changes. Because it'll be quite interesting, and it will be also quite telling. So we just got to hold out to November, I guess.
Well, we'll see. I mean, no, I think, and thank you, Anthony, for the call. And it's good analysis, and I appreciate you taking up the phone and making the call as asked. I'd love to hear from others, particularly black voters who are of any political stripe. Whether or not this trial has impacted you, whether or not the economy has impacted you, whether or not you feel like you're being taken for granted amongst the Democrat Party, I think that is the case. I mean, it really started we were discussing this. I was talking with Cameron Smith about this last night, that in the 1960s, it was really 1960, but when was Barry Goldwater? 64? When Barry Goldwater stood out against Brown versus Board of Education. And he had his own constitutional rationale for being against Brown versus Board of Education as to what is a federal government requirement versus, what is constitutional versus what is a state's right to determine. But when he stepped out against Brown v. Board of Education, the Democrats saw an opportunity to flip votes within the black community, which were largely going to Republicans because the Republican Party was a party of Lincoln. And they have maintained this lie for those many years, the 65 plus years now, or 60 plus years now. More on that coming up in just a moment. Right now, we turn our attention to the good Senator Bill Hagerty, who joins us on the Matt Murphy Radio Show this fine afternoon. Happy lunchtime and happy Wednesday, Senator. I hope you're doing well.
I am, Matt. I'm always doing well when I'm back in my home state of Tennessee. It's great to be back here.
I understand that you're in Nashville. Tell us what's that all about?
So I've been meeting with local business leaders here, trying to understand some of the challenges to meeting the economic opportunities that we have here in the state. We've got, a much better situation here in Tennessee than so many other states in the nation. One of our challenges is having a workforce that's properly trained and available to fill some of the demand. So I've just left a group in the entertainment industry. We've been spending a good deal of time with them this morning, different sectors of the music, the recording, and the performance aspects of the entertainment industry here in Nashville. The industry is booming, as you know, Matt, but there are serious demands on employment. They need people to staff what they're doing. They've got some very interesting opportunities, and young people need to know more about it. This afternoon, I'm headed over to my alma mater, Vanderbilt University. There I'm going to be talking to the Tennessee Valley Corridor, talking about our nation's security risks and what happens in Tennessee, whether it be at Oak Ridge National Labs, at the 101st Airborne Division at Fort Campbell, down at Arnold Air Force Base, Arnold Engineering, in Tullahoma, Tennessee, with research institutions like Vanderbilt, University of Memphis, University of Tennessee, where we're talking about national security contributions that we can make right here from our home state of Tennessee, which are significant.
You and your colleague, Senator Marsha Blackburn, have attempted to reintroduce what you call the Restoring Law and Order Act. And as much as you can on the federal level, you're trying to provide resources for law enforcement to help reduce violent crime. Obviously, sadly, we have local district attorneys that don't take these things seriously. We see the scourge in Memphis. We're seeing some of this pop up in Nashville as well. What can be done on the federal level to help assist law enforcement that are trying to get a handle on this, especially considering that they're met with, many district attorneys that don't seem to be taking this as seriously as the people see it?
Well, we certainly want to properly resource our officers and properly train them. But what you've hit the nail on the head as usual, Matt. There have been, and I think this is a vulnerability that some of these activists have focused on, where it's actually quite inexpensive to go in and back a local district attorney's race. and put in place what they call a progressive, a socialist, you name it, but somebody who is not going to enforce the laws, who is more in it for the criminals than for the victims. And what we've seen happen is in city after city, and it's happening in our own state, as you mentioned, you've got DAs that will refuse to prosecute the law. They'll take a crime and knock it down from a felony to a misdemeanor. There are all types of things that are happening that are making it very permissive for criminals to operate in our cities. Law enforcement officers tell me it's just demoralizing to them as well. They'll arrest a person for committing a crime. That person will be taken in. The DA will decide not to charge them or let them out on, very low bail, and that person standing on the street corner the next day, laughing at them. It's demoralizing to our law enforcement officers. It's something that I think the public has caught on to. I don't think it's going to last beyond the next election. But boy, have they done a lot of damage in these situations where the prosecuting attorneys in our local jurisdictions won't enforce the law.
Well, Senator, I know you are busy in D.C. trying to do the good work for the people of the state of Tennessee, but you have to be watching, as we all are, this nonsense that's going on in New York City. Let us hope and pray that 12 jurors, even in a liberal enclave like Manhattan, recognize the ridiculous nature of this suit and this trial against the former president. Any thoughts on how this is going and how you believe the American people are viewing this?
Well, I think it's preposterous on its face. The American people can see it. They're seeing right through it. And, they know that Joe Biden's Department of Justice are deeply involved in this. They sent one of their top officials from the DOJ, from the U.S. Department of Justice, in on the local level to make the opening arguments against Trump. Joe Biden's planning on addressing the verdict from the White House. The American public can see that this is nothing more than a political scheme to try to keep Donald Trump off the campaign trail, to try to tie him up, to try to destroy his resources. But every time they take these moves, Donald Trump's numbers go up in the polls. Again, the American public can see it. Joe Biden's watching it backfire on him. And I think the American public are going to let this resonate loud and clear come November, because this weaponization of the judicial system goes against the inherent sense of fairness that every American has, whether they be Republican, Independent, or Democrat. People see this as plain wrong. It is. And no matter what the verdict is from this jury, President Trump, I think on appeal, if there is a verdict at all, and I would be shocked if there is, but I've been shocked by the fact that they're even doing this. If there is a verdict, if it's not a hung jury or acquitted, I think he's got ample grounds to appeal this, because there have been flaws at so many levels of this prosecution. I should say persecution, Matt.
Well, and moving forward into the summer months as we anticipate November, I do this for a living, Senator. I mean, I comment on the news of the day. We relate what's going on around the world, around the country, around the state of Tennessee. You, in your role as a public servant, deal with these issues on a day-to-day basis. I'm almost disheartened that the race seems as close as it is, considering some of the disasters that we see going on in the country. I've long said that Democrats can't lie their way out of the grocery store. They can't lie their way out of the gas station. We look at the southern border, for example. I'm almost hesitant to report on the disastrous numbers coming off the southern border, because it's depressing. I feel like it depresses the American people that we've gotten to this point.
Yeah. We'll talk about lying, though. We've seen the Democrats move directly toward that position. You saw this fake border bill that they brought up, which actually was more resources to process people more rapidly into the United States. They brought a border bill up that they could say that they voted for, even though they knew it had no chance of passing. They're trying to shift the narrative, so to speak, that now, in 2021, there's no problem at the border. 2022, no crisis. 2023, there's not a crisis at the border. 2024, suddenly there's a crisis, and now it's the Republicans' fault. So I think the American public will see through this as well, but the Democrats are going to be trying everything they can to try to, quote, shift the narrative and use this fake border bill as the opportunity to do so.
And did you not recently, several days ago, introduce there was legislation to try to stop the abuse of the Alternatives to Detention Act?
Yes.
Walk me through. I mean, obviously, the Biden administration seems to be doing everything in their power to disseminate illegal aliens throughout the country, and I think you're trying to directly combat that by stopping the counting of illegal aliens toward distribution of congressional apportionment.
Congressional seats. Exactly.
And these two things kind of walk hand in hand to stop the honeypot draw for the Democrats to allow illegal alien activity to come into the United States of America, which I think is their purpose.
Matt, that's the motive behind the crime at the southern border. You and I have talked about this before. You get down to the very basics here. The motive here is power. The motive here is to be able to get more congressional seats and more electoral votes by virtue of bringing these illegal aliens into the country. That's why they've situated sanctuary cities in states like California, Illinois, New York. These are states that are losing population to Tennessee, right, left, and center. They're backfilling. We've even got a Democrat congresswoman in New York saying as much on the air. She said she needs these illegal aliens for the purposes of holding on to her congressional district. Hers is the district, if you'll recall, Matt, back in the winter, they told the kids to go home from the James Madison High School in the Bronx, and they wanted to house illegal aliens there. That's what happened to their school. And she's welcoming that because she wants them to be counted in the census because she wants to hold on to her congressional district. It's a shame.
No, well, I mean, it is a shame. Speaking of a shame, I wanted to ask you about the Israeli-Hamas conflict and this abuse of money. $320 million, I think, went into the creation of a pier. I mean, this looks to me, Senator, as a microcosm of the Biden administration. That they built a pier that experts at the time that they announced they were going to do it said this will not work on the Mediterranean Sea. It has clearly not worked on the Mediterranean Sea. It's all, to me, it seems all performative to claim that they are actually doing something when in fact all of this has been an absolute disaster.
You're exactly right, and they don't care how many hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars they waste just so Joe Biden can have the talking point that will get him to a better place in the November elections in Michigan and Minnesota. That's what this is all about.
Yep.
He's trying to appease the Hamas proponents in his own party. These are the leftists that are on campuses screaming, death to Israel, death to America. These are the people that he's concerned about. That's why we're seeing taxpayer dollars wasted like this. It's all just to get him a talking point, just like pulling our troops out of Afghanistan on the 20th anniversary of 9/11. That was just a talking point. He was willing to embarrass the nation the way he was. It's all politics with this administration. It's got to come to an end in November.
I've been saying for months that Joe Biden has a two-state solution. The two states are Michigan and Minnesota. And he will do anything, right? And he will do anything and everything to win those states. Senator, I know your time's limited. You have a very busy day at Vanderbilt and other places in and around Nashville. I appreciate you spending some good time with us, and come back anytime. You're always welcome.
Always great to be with you, Matt. Thank you.
Take care. There's Senator Bill Hagerty joining us for a few good moments as he makes his rounds around Nashville. He's going over to Vanderbilt to a summit over there a little bit later on today. 12:53, Super Talk 99.7 WGN. Back in a moment. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for Tennessee Men's Clinic. Tennessee Men's Clinic has been providing quality men's health for over 10 years now. In 2014, Evan Bass and his team started Tennessee Men's Clinic in Midtown Nashville, and they've been going strong since then. They opened up a new clinic last year in Cool Springs in the Franklin area for those of you south of the city. They want to provide quality men's health care that can get you back to an energetic lifestyle today. All you need do is to make the call to make the appointment. And I promise you, Tennessee Men's Clinic is going to help you. The Tennessee Men's Clinic can get you back to energetic lifestyle. They can get you back to activity in the bedroom. And that's just the best way that I can put it. And there's no shame in this, guys. Over half the men listening to me right now at some point in their life will see some deficiency in that department and go to the Tennessee Men's Clinic to get it taken care of. They have a plan of action specifically for your need. TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. That's TennesseeMen'sClinic.com, or give them a call and schedule that appointment. 615-208-9090. 615-208-9090. It's for the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Winding down the Libertarian Lunchtime Hour, we have 2 more to go, however. Your calls on the way. Ralph, you'll be first up. Your call as well, 615-737-9986. Bell, I've been accused of talking too fast in the Libertarian Lunchtime Hour. I will attempt to slow it down next on The Murphy Show.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. The historic criminal hush money trial of former President Donald Trump is now in the hands of the jury. 5 women and 7 men tasked with reaching verdicts on 34 counts. Trump is accused of falsifying business records to reimburse former fixer Michael Cohen for payments made to Stormy Daniels to keep an alleged affair from voters ahead of the 2016 election. Trump, after deliberations began, called it a rigged trial, claiming not even Mother Teresa could beat the charges. ABC's John Santucci has more.
It almost feels like Donald Trump is setting the stage for a potential conviction in this case. Making it though this was something that nobody, even someone that, lived a very pure life, could beat charges like this.
The Trump campaign also fundraising off the trial deliberations. Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito has responded to calls for him to step aside on cases involving former President Trump and January 6 defendants due to the controversial flags flown over his homes. Alito says his wife was responsible for flying an upside-down flag over his home in 2021 and an appeal to heaven flag at his New Jersey beach house. Alito says neither incident merits his recusal. President Biden in Pennsylvania today, he'll hold a joint campaign rally with Vice President Kamala Harris. The White House says the president is also getting briefed on developments in Rafah following the Israeli strike, along with damage caused by rough seas to the floating humanitarian pier. Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre says the military is working to repair the pier to resume critical aid into Gaza.
This is part of the president's commitment to make sure we're getting that important humanitarian aid into Gaza. We know how dire the situation there is for it's for Palestinian people, and so we're going to do everything by air, by land, by sea, obviously.
The military says it could take several weeks to repair the pier. You're listening to ABC News.
Hey, friends, I like to tell you that I am on LFT 88. That is Locks for Trump 88. And in part, I have PAI Medical and the We Grow Hair people to thank for that, because I have long, luxurious locks, and I don't worry about losing my hair. Thank you to PAI. I met with Katie, Alex, and the rest of the team over at PAI Medical, the We Grow Hair people. And, we looked at my hair, and, they told me, look, you're looking good, but you look like you might be thinning a little bit around the crown. Let's go ahead and get that laser treatment for you, Matt Murphy, the FDA-approved laser treatment to make your hair thicker and fuller and to prevent further hair loss. Whether you're just beginning to lose your hair or you've been losing for some time, We Grow Hair is the only clinic in Nashville with all of the proven medical solutions. They also have their trademark procedure, the multi-unit hair grafting procedure, and the artist's robotic FUE hair transplant procedure. That's a fancy word of saying that they have a program that is right for you no matter what stage of hair loss you might be in. Go ahead and make the call that so many other men have made. Get your life back with We Grow Hair. 615-376-6010. 376-6010 or go to WeGrowHair.com. That's WeGrowHair.com. All right, here we are. Here we go. Hour number 2 of the Matt Murphy Show starts right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. As CNN is ready to note, we are now 2 hours and 36 minutes into jury deliberation in the Trump trial of the century. What has become my favorite part about all of this is that hashtag Never CNN, which is up on monitor number 2 in our studios. They have the count up clock, not a countdown clock, but a count up clock. 2 hours and 36 minutes and counting. I assume that this stops when the jury goes home today, if they do go home today, if they don't come up with the decision. And I assume that's the case, and then it starts again in the morning. But my favorite part of this is they don't really have anything else to put underneath the graphic. Now they have decided that what they put down there was stupid, and I'll tell you what that was in a moment. They've replaced it with breaking news. Trump hush money trial facing 34 counts of falsifying records, which, how is that breaking news? I don't know. But we're now at 2 hours and 37 minutes of deliberation from the jury. And every minute, it gets counted up by CNN. So dumb. Even dumber, they have a graphic up that says to us what we all know, and that is that there are 7 men and 5 women on the jury. And in that graphic, if you've gone over there, and I encourage you not to, don't support this garbage network full of garbage people. I'll do it for you. But I don't know if you've noticed this. They've changed the graphic to a face of Donald Trump, and it says facing 34 counts of falsifying records. But when they go back to the graphic that shows the jury makeup, 7 men, 5 women, would you please notice how fat those little women figures are on the graphic, Bill?
It's misogyny.
I mean, they're clearly big in the hip. They're roomy. On the female side, the men look like the normal standard, you know, what you might see going into a public bathroom. You know, the little man figure? Mm-hmm. These women are hippier than the average woman figure that you see going into the bathroom. And I want to know why.
This is just misogyny.
Misogyny. Yes. A clear case.
Can you imagine? I mean, this is so theatrical on its face. Can you imagine anything like this count up clock being done when even Dan Rather, who is a raging liberal, would have never had a graphic up, or Tom Brokaw or Sam Donaldson would have never done anything like this?
It's just, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what are we building here? What is the purpose of putting a clock on it, except it's all CNN's got.
They're trying to build tension, and it's theatrical. This is not news. This is theater.
Let me tell you something. And I said this yesterday while you were away, and it bears repeating. I would hope that there are some members of that jury that are saying, no, the prosecution has not proven its case. Oh, by the way, they just pulled it up. See what I'm talking about? Yeah. Those men look nice and lean. Look at those women. Look at those big-hipped women.
Have you seen the tweet that apparently, what's the judge's name, Meechin?
Juan Merchan, yeah.
Merchan has said that if 4 of them find him guilty on one count, 4 find him guilty on another, and 4 find him guilty on a third, that counts as unanimity.
Okay, I'm going to explain that right now, Bill, because several people are confused by it, such as Eric, who says the judge says the decision does not need to be unanimous for Trump to be found guilty. It does and it doesn't. So here, the judge, I don't know what he's doing. I've never heard of this in my life. Here's the biggest travesty of all of this. The 34 counts that they keep talking about of falsifying business records, they claim that classifying the payments to Stormy Daniels as a legal expense was a falsification of business records. By the way, I don't think that's a falsification of business records. I don't think they win on that argument alone. But none of this would come up because doing that is a misdemeanor. That would be 34 separate misdemeanors. Okay? Y'all with me so far? But Alvin Bragg and his ridiculous prosecution team needed a couple of things to happen. One, the statute of limitations had run on those misdemeanors, meaning they could not bring 34 charges of misdemeanor falsifying business documents against Donald Trump in any court of law in the state of New York because the statute had run. In order to bring those, they had to tie them together with the commission of another crime. That's the only way that this case comes to court. And I know that it sounds like I'm exaggerating. I am not. I have been following this case from day one. Never once did the prosecution tell the jury what exactly that underlying crime was. Oh, they talked about the falsification of business documents, and they interviewed Stormy Daniels, and they got in the salacious details about their alleged, romantic liaison tryst, one-night stand affair, whatever. Oh, they got all that information in, and they brought lying Michael Cohen on, and he talked about making the payments and doing this and that and the other thing, and lying through his teeth in the process. They never once drew the connection between those things going on, which are misdemeanors, and the connection of another crime, except to say that it was designed to affect the outcome of the 2016 election, which is not a crime. Y'all with me so far? None of that's a crime. Getting someone to sign a non-disclosure agreement. If I decided to run for public office and I convinced Bell to sign a non-disclosure agreement so as not to tell all of the nasty details of my private life to the general public so that I could win election. If I agreed to pay Bell K, $1,000 a month for the next year and a half in order to get him to not say anything to the public about my private life, that is perfectly legal. That is a legally binding contract, and it's also a legal contract, which would make it what? A legal expense. None of that's a crime. Not once did the prosecution make these connections. And so the judge, literally the first time that Donald Trump understood, the defense in this case understood the nature of what he was being charged with, is when the judge told the jury what their options were here. So, first and foremost, the jury has to agree that a crime was committed in the, quote, falsification of business records. But then they have to agree. Are y'all with me? You following me? Bell, are you listening in there? I'm trying to tell you too. Okay. So they have to agree that he falsified business records, but it has to have been done in the furtherance of the commission of another crime. And these are their three options. This is the three options that the judge gave them, not the prosecution. By the way, none of this is the judge's job. It's the job of the prosecution to prove this case. And so instead of the prosecution doing it, literally they waited for the judge to instruct the jury. The judge has now become a de facto part of the prosecution team here.
When his job literally is to only be a referee.
Exactly. He's supposed to be the umpire calling the balls and the strikes, and he's playing for one of the teams. So he told the jury today, this morning, that you have to agree that they falsified business records, yada, yada, yada. But you also have to agree that they did it in the furtherance of another crime. And here are your three choices. Choice number one, that Donald Trump violated New York State tax law through the falsification of the records. Now, listen to this. There's no suggestion, no one is stating, because it did not happen, that Donald Trump didn't pay his taxes. He paid his taxes on all of the payments. He paid his taxes properly. What they're arguing is that he misfiled his tax returns because of the falsification of the business record, which is the same crime, but they're tying it together, and they say that two of the same thing, by putting it on his tax returns that way, creates the felony, which is just bogus. But it is what it is. So that's number one, tax law. It was a tax crime. Number two, that in the commission of falsifying business records, that Donald Trump also engaged in federal election fraud. Well, folks, the state of New York has no jurisdiction over federal election law. And any juror with an understanding of that would immediately have to dismiss option number three. The idea here is that he somehow circumvented federal election law, a crime that he has not been accused of, a crime that he has not been charged with, and certainly a crime that he's not been convicted of in any federal court. As a matter of fact, the Department of Justice chose not to charge him with any of those crimes. Biden's Department of Justice chose not to charge him with any of those crimes. Yet the state of New York wants to tie state charges with this federal charge, and they have no jurisdiction. But the judge is allowing it. Obviously, any conviction would be immediately thrown out on appeal, but they don't care about appeals. They don't care about appeals. They just want the guilty verdict. So that's option 2. Number 1, state tax law. Number 2, federal election charges. And number 3, they are arguing that Donald Trump engaged in a conspiracy to defraud the New York election process on the state level. Bell, who is being charged in this case with Donald Trump? Anyone? Or is he by himself?
On
these specific charges, is anyone sitting there at the defense table beside Trump?
No.
So it's just Trump?
Yeah.
How can
who
Trump...
did he conspire with?
Who did he conspire with? That's exactly right. You got it. I mean, do we need to say anymore?
Don't you need at least one other person for it to be a conspiracy?
You got to have 2 people in order to have a conspiracy. That's the number... look, 2 knuckleheads in Nashville on the radio get this. The number 1 rule of a conspiracy is in order for you to have a conspiracy, you have to have 2 people to conspire. So they're charging Donald Trump with a conspiracy, but they've not indicated with whom he's conspiring. But the judge in the case, knowing that each individual option was flimsy, told the jury this morning, and I don't know if this is precedent or not. I've never heard of this. The judge told the jury, okay, first, you've got to agree that he falsified 34 counts of business documents, but you have to tie it to this other thing. And these are your 3 options. And he looked at the jury and said, any one of those and you're cool, and you don't have to agree on any of that. Like 4 of you can pick option A, and 4 of you can pick option B. He told them this. And 4 of you can pick option C, and you're all good. He's still guilty. 10 of you can pick option C, and 1 of you can pick option A, and 1 of you can pick option B. Any mix and match. You're all good. He's giving every opportunity. He is leaning on the jury, telling them that he wants a guilty verdict by charging the jury in this manner. And yet still I have to believe he won't get it. I do believe this, and many of you have indicated as such on the membersnutrition.com super text line. This judge will try to keep them there. He will try to lean on them. I think this judge understands that they have a flimsy case. They are leaning on 2 facts. 1, I have become convinced, just based on my analysis of the case and my gut, and you know what? In some cases, you kind of have to go with your gut. I'll be proven right or proven wrong. I think these 2 lawyers are crucial. I believe it is a natural predisposition for a lawyer in a case like this to take the lead in a jury deliberation. And I do believe that if the lawyers are both anti-Trump, you might even see a guilty verdict in this case. Because the lawyers might lean on the rest of the jury, explaining to, well, you just don't understand the law. You understand what I'm saying? If you get 2 strongly anti-Trump lawyers, to hell with what the real law is, they will convince the jury that they know better than the rest of them and potentially convince the rest of the jurors to vote guilty. If they are not strongly anti-Trump, or if they're more honest in their assessment of the law, then you might have a totally different outcome. If I had to bet, I would bet hung jury, but who knows? Who the hell knows what might happen? In the meantime, new information. You might have recalled the story regarding professional golfer Scottie Scheffler and his situation at the PGA Championship a couple of weeks ago. It is now being reported that all of the charges against Scottie Scheffler are being dropped in the aftermath of the videos coming out clearly demonstrating that the police officer in this case was wildly exaggerating when he claimed that he was, quote, dragged by Scotty Scheffler. A judge in that case has dropped all charges against the golfer.
And you and I, before I went on vacation, said that would be the end result of it, and watched the police officer suffer no consequences for having wasted the court's time.
There is no video evidence available demonstrating any sort of dragging of any police officer. There is video evidence available of Scotty Scheffler driving around that bus and the officer running after him, screaming at him in his car, and then dragging him out of the car and handcuffing him for no good appreciable reason. Oh, by the way, I've also not seen the pants or the shorts. I have conflicting reports. You know, he claimed that he had Scotty Scheffler damaged his pants beyond repair. To which you and I, remember, we speculated that does that mean that, like he pooped his pants, you think?
Well,
that would be damage beyond repair, I would think. I think you'd want to throw those away.
Yeah, I'd throw those out.
I'd just go ahead and, take care of that business. Jeannie and Ann and Jeff, we're going to get to each of you in a moment. It's 1:20. I'm going to go right to calls right after this on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I love taking in the membersnutrition.com super text line during our brief advertisement timeouts as you listen to some of the fine sponsors of what? Why are you?
I'll tell you later.
I know. I think I know why I got an eye roll. But I enjoy examining the membersnutrition.com super text line for some of your comments, pithy and otherwise, such as 6585 writes in and says, the Catholic Church is more guilty than Donald Trump. But I would agree with that. And then goes on to say, is this a Salem witch hunt trial? No facts matter. Are the Nashville Council, what? Go by feelings. I never want people deciding my fate. And then 6585 goes on to say, I think you are retry smart. I'm just reading it as written. I think you are retry smart. You like to joke around, but you're pretty smart. I want to say that 6585 meant really smart. And thank you. That's very nice. Some say yes, others disagree. Film at 11. In the meantime, Jeff is in Spring Hill. You know, I've been meaning to bring up this topic, and I'm so happy. I'm looking at the topic selection that you have under your name, Jeff, and I am glad that you are calling because I've been meaning to discuss this. How are you, sir?
I'm not bad for an American. How are you today?
I'm fabulous. Better than I deserve. What's on your mind?
Well, I keep hearing about this upside-down flag. I think Judge Alito, is that who they're after?
Yeah, Supreme Court Judge Samuel Alito was found to his wife hung an upside-down American flag, a international symbol of distress, on their flagpole outside of his home.
Yes.
Yeah, right after, I mean, this happened to happen right after January 6th, but Samuel Alito's wife, for those who don't know, says that it had something to do with a personal dispute with a neighbor.
Oh, okay. The Homeowners Association, I understand. I'm an old soldier, and I know it's a distress signal for the military. So, and I've been known to offend some of my neighbors when my flag's upside down, such as when we had a certain president. And anyway, I just wanted the public to know that it's a good thing to hang your flag upside down every once in a while to let people know that things aren't right and need to be fixed. It's not just a distress signal for the military. It's a distress signal for the way things are.
Yeah, for the nation.
For the nation.
Well, so, and it has been used to express displeasure. It's a way to express displeasure and has been used as such for all of my lifetime. But because, Jeff, it was used in the aftermath of, because it was used on January 6th, the media and the political left have decided that, you know, it's a no-go zone now. They've decided it's a no-go zone, to which I say to hell with you, to hell with all of those people.
And there's enough people around here that I don't think they know the use of the flag, the proper use of the flag, and I may as well have been burning my flag as far as some of my neighbors are concerned. But I just want the public to know that it's a good thing, and maybe they need to hang theirs upside down.
Well, Jeff, I certainly appreciate the call. I appreciate you listening, and thank you for holding on. So if you've not been following this case, you know, I want to remind you that when you're dealing with political leftists, you know, be it the mainstream media or Democrats or socialists or whatever they might be, know these two things. Number one, they think you're dumb, which leads us to number two, they always overplay their hand because they think you're dumb. And so they have instructed us, per the mainstream media, the hashtag Never CNNs and the MSNBCs of the world, NBC, ABC, CBS, all of the alphabet soups, Washington Post, New York Times, and all of that, that they get to decide what's permissible and what's not permissible in political speech. They get to decide what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. They tell us this. And so Samuel Alito, I mean, they went after, they're going after our judicial system. They're trying to break down the confidence of our United States Supreme Court because the United States Supreme Court is a more conservative court. And they don't like that. They don't like constitutional conservatism within the court system. They like an activist court that just, you know, relies on feels and whatever it is they want to make up on any given day. This attack on Samuel Alito has nothing to do with Samuel Alito. It has nothing to do with what flag his wife might be flying outside of their home. It has everything to do with trying to destroy confidence in the courts. And they'll do this until they get a liberal court, and then they will demand that all of it stop because you can't question the court at that point because it's a liberal court. Rules are for thee, not for me, say the leftists. So they want to suggest that somehow Samuel Alito is required on some level to recuse himself of any and all matters involving Donald Trump because his wife flew an upside-down flag in the aftermath of January 6th, 2021, something that she says she was doing, as is her right as an American, because of a dispute. You know what the dispute was? See, the mainstream media won't tell you this. You know what the dispute was? Their neighbors were putting up nasty messages about Trump and Alito on their lawn directed toward the Alito family. Like F this, F that kind of thing. F Trump. And so in response, Ms. Alito turned her American flag upside down and said, this country's in a bad way. This is distressful. Similarly, what was the name of this flag? That the heaven tree or the angel tree or the appeal to heaven flag, which has a pine tree on it, also known as a pine tree flag. They were flying that, and that now apparently is somehow they're treating the pine tree flag or the appeal to heaven flag like they now treat the Gadsden flag, as if it is somehow racist.
There were people carrying that flag during the January 6th riots, so therefore it became a symbol of the quote-unquote insurrection, which by that logic, we should take the same stance with the American flag.
Correct.
Because they were carrying American flags.
Correct. So liberals get to decide what is permissible and not permissible. Burning a city to the ground because, cops got into an altercation and had to shoot someone as a result of that altercation. Perfectly acceptable. That's a legitimate form of protest. Nothing to see here in Ferguson, Missouri. Nothing to see in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Nothing to see in the Chaz zone in Portland, Oregon, or Seattle, Washington, or wherever the hell it was. Nothing to see there. But, you put up an American flag upside down, you're an insurrectionist and you need to be arrested and put in jail, according to the left. And suddenly Samuel Alito is no longer allowed to sit on the court for this reason. It's not about a flag. It's about destroying faith in the court so that they can go after the court when the court rightly rules in a constitutional fashion on some of these cases. They always overplay their hand, folks. They're literally saying that Samuel Alito, Clarence Thomas, and hell, let's just take all the rest of the conservative justices on the United States Supreme Court. Anybody that Trump nominated has to go as well, right? That'd be Gorsuch, be Kavanaugh. What's the, Coney Barrett? Hey, and before you know it, we're just left with the liberals. Yay. So ridiculous. 132, Super Talk 99.7, WTN. I'm very excited because of what's going down this weekend. This June 1, the first day of June, brings us the 4th annual open house at the Glock store, and I am very, very excited to be there. I'm excited to see you. So many of you have told me you'll be out and about. I invite you to get there early, register for some of the incredible prizes that will be given away on the day of. I mean, I think we have like $10,000 worth of prizes. I mean, literally, they've added it up to include a $1,700 custom-made Glock. Made by one of the incredible gunsmiths at the Glock store, or customized, I should say, by one of the incredible gunsmiths at the Glock store. You can also do tours of the facility, tour the Shoot 270 rooms, see what the difference truly is. You can tour their manufacturing department and see how they ship all over the United States of America at the Glock store. I mean, we truly have a world-class facility right here in Nashville available to you. The retail space is bright. It's beautiful. You'll see me. You'll see Dan Mandis. You'll see Chris Hand, and I want to see you. Starting at 10 a.m. this Saturday. It's here. The week is here. It's the 4th annual open house at the Glock store. Find out more details at glockstore.com, or we'll see you on Airlane Drive just off of Elm Hill Pike Saturday morning at the Glock store. So, as a way to evidence that what I'm telling you is not Bravo Sierra, that this is not about Samuel Alito. It's not about a flag at Samuel Alito's house. It's not about Clarence Thomas. It's not about the ability for Clarence Thomas to accept trips or gifts from friends. It's about destroying the conservatives on the court. Because you cannot win elections because you do not see Supreme Court justices appointed by Democrats in a way that they appreciate the conservative nature of the court. They're going after individuals today. So we already have them going after Clarence Thomas. That's been well established. They're now going after Samuel Alito. Oh, he's an insurrectionist. There's an insurrectionist on the courts. Oh, no. The illustrious political magazine Rolling Stone has this exclusive. Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett's husband is representing Fox Corporation, the Fox News parent company, in a defamation lawsuit, according to records reviewed by Rolling Stone. And then you delve into the article, and they're essentially saying that Amy Coney Barrett cannot possibly be a Supreme Court justice in any case involving all of these various things coming before the court because her husband represents Fox News. You see how they're nipping it away? Jeannie is next in Columbia. Hello, Jeannie. Glad you called. How are you? Or is it Jean? Jeannie? Janae?
Sorry about that. My phone was stuck. It's Jeannie. You pronounced it right the first time. I apologize.
No, it's all good.
Praise God. And I wanted to talk to you about the water being so low here in Columbia as a direct result of the battery plant that's connected in with the Spring Hill plant. A lot of people don't realize this. A friend of mine is working out there. Not only did they not properly figure out whether or not we could support that plant, but on top of that, they failed to tell us that that plant, it's not if, it's when, according to my friend, one of those batteries goes bad, it has the potential of blowing up a 10-mile radius around that plant and taking everything out. And I don't think, I doubt anybody knew that prior to them putting that plant in. Not only the fact that they're sucking up all our water and dirt is coming out into my toilet bowl as a result because the Duck River is so low that we're barely getting anything even after all this rain.
Okay, so you're going to have to back up and kind of feed me like a baby bird on this story, okay?
Okay.
So there's a battery plant in Columbia.
There's a battery plant in Spring Hill.
Okay,
that
in Spring.
was just recently built.
Okay, that is it is servicing the automobile manufacturing that's going on, the electric vehicle manufacturing that's going on. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and they claim that it's supposed to be more friendly for the natural resources and stuff, but they can't even if. One of those batteries blew up. They could not put it out with water. They had to literally bury the entire thing. She was telling me that they had to bury it because they couldn't put it out. The only way they can put out those batteries is with foam. And then on top of that, if one of those batteries goes bad, and she said it's not if, it's when. So it will happen at some point in time. That it has the potential of blowing up because all the other batteries that are there alongside it, and that it could take out a 10-mile radius, killing everybody in a 10-mile radius. They failed to tell us that little tidbit of information before they brought it into our community.
Mm-hmm. What I'm
saying?
I understand what you're saying. I don't understand. I don't know any of the details about the possibilities of those things blowing up. Have they ever blown up before? Has anything like that ever happened before?
Evidently, there were issues. This is a venture with Korea, and evidently the issues have happened abroad, and we don't know anything about it. That's according to a friend of mine that works there. They do have issues that have happened abroad, and yet they brought it here to the United States, and that it's just a matter of time. They get upset because there's too many safety things that they have to do here because of OSHA, but they would just continue on. They continually have different types of spills and things like that, and the chemicals are dangerous. And not only that, but it's also drawing most of our water from the Duck River, which the Duck River is pretty much, from what I understand, that's our water. They've built so many houses in this area that there's not enough support for the houses for the natural resources like the water.
Are we talking about the Ultium battery or the Ultium cells? I thought that was a GM product. You're saying it's from Korea?
Yeah, I was told it's a joint venture with Korea, and Joe Biden is connected to it.
Well, I mean, it's a. So, what's your goal here? To get the plant shut down?
Well, my goal is to let people know what's going on because I don't think that I believe that the community should have been the ones to vote that in or not in, especially considering the ramifications and the potential danger of us living within a 10-mile radius of that thing.
Yeah, I don't know anything about explosions within a 10-mile radius. I would have to do a little bit of research on that. Do you have any direction that I could go in on that? Because I've never heard of that.
You know what? I'll tell you what. I will do some research for you because she was one telling me that this was information that was given directly to her by them.
I mean, if there's there's a lot of danger in industry. Here's what I would say more broadly, and I'm not dismissing your concerns about water levels on the Duck River. This is the first that I'm hearing about any of this, Jeannie. Okay,
Yes.
but
Yes.
I don't necessarily think that every person within a community should need to vote as to whether or not a business comes within that community. I think that's just kind of a recipe for disaster. Now, if it is determined that that business is a danger to the community, well, that's a different matter. I mean, I think the community should certainly have input. I don't know how much we're going to accomplish now because the plant's already there, right?
It is. She's under the impression that it's probably going to go under because nobody's really ordering it. But then what are they going to do with all those batteries and those, it's like, what are you going to do with things that are so hazardous like that? Because people probably aren't going to be buying them there. In order for them to be able to get their cars to be charged, they have to pay $10,000 for something to be able to charge at their home, and then their electric bill is going to go through the roof.
If we want to draw, obviously, I mean, the electric vehicle sales have not done anything like what the liberals want them to do. They are not, they're not the panacea that the political left wants you to believe. Everyone gets to make their own decision about what type of vehicle they want to drive. Modern technology is what it is, and if electric vehicles are determined to be relatively safe on the roadways, which, I mean, there's plenty of them on the roadways, and I would consider them to be as safe as anything else, batteries notwithstanding, battery blowups notwithstanding. But I think individual citizens can make their own decisions. And I would agree with you, Jeannie, that this situation's probably kind of solve itself because I don't see the American people moving away from the internal combustion engine anytime soon.
Yes, and I hope you're right.
But if they're taking a lot of water away from the people of that community, well, then that might be a problem. So, I mean, look into it. Send me whatever information you find. I'll try to do the same thing, and we can follow up at a later time.
Okay, wonderful. I appreciate it. I really do appreciate it.
No, I thank you. That's what I'm here for.
And can I just say one more thing?
Yeah.
You are a highly intelligent person. You really, truly are. And you are seeing through a lot of the garbage that is out there. And I am so thankful that you are on the radio.
Oh, well, thank you, Jeannie. I appreciate that. You're very sweet, very kind. Look, I'll look into it. I don't pretend to know enough about these batteries. I don't think they explode. I think they do burn if something goes haywire on them. I don't know that they explode. I've never heard that if that battery, I mean, Bell, have you ever heard that the battery factory could explode? A 10-mile, that's pretty big. 10-mile radius.
A single battery?
No. Well, if one, the idea of what Jeannie was saying is if one exploded, then they will all explode.
No, I don't.
And then the whole plant goes up.
I don't work with those.
I have a hard time believing that. I mean, I'm not dismissing Jeannie's concerns, though. If the Duck River's going down as a result of this plant, we need to know that. 147 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Frank is next in Thompson Station. Thompson Station, which might be consumed by this huge battery factory explosion if it were to happen. Hey, Frank, how are you?
I'm doing just fine. I am in the market for a chainsaw, so I was reading reviews about different brands. And there's this one manufacturer, their color is red. And they listed pros and cons of all the different chainsaws. And one of the cons of this chainsaw was the color red is divisive. And I wonder what kind of liberal wrote that.
What? I'm sorry. That just struck me as so funny. Wait, so you're saying you're researching chainsaws and you're looking into and one particular brand is red. I'm trying to figure out what brand that would be, but one way or the other. Someone said one of the cons is that the color red is divisive?
Yes, that was in their review of that particular brand, was the color red is divisive. And all their tools are red.
When did that happen? I mean, I've never let's put it this way, Frank. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've never blamed the color blue on how stupid the Democrats are. Have you?
I have not.
Well, Well, that's pretty good. I would almost be willing to suggest, even without knowing the brand, that you buy that chainsaw just to, stick the middle finger up at whoever wrote that review.
That's right. And let me comment about the last caller, too.
Okay.
Yes, the batteries do explode. They explode and then continue to burn. And that's happened here in the United States many times. One time, 6 months ago or so, in Brentwood, it was parked in the parking lot, and it burned. And they said typically a car fire takes about 500 gallons to put it out. But the fire chief said that it's impossible to put out because it is its own energy source. You can't put it out with water or foam or anything else. It burns until it burns out. But they dumped 45,000 gallons of water on that car instead of 500 like in a normal car. But that's happened with buses. There's some cities that have electric buses, and it's also happened at charging stations. And when the battery starts burning in one vehicle, all of a sudden all the vehicles lined up there at the charging station were on fire. And
I'm not suggesting that there's not there are dangers in internal combustion engines as well. There's dangers in these batteries. My and I'm not slamming on Jeannie. I'm not trying to do that. I appreciate her listening. She was very nice. But a 10-mile radius, I want to say that when the bomb landed on Hiroshima, that it destroyed like a 1.5-mile radius. I mean, it would be a ridiculous explosion to destroy a 10-mile radius. So I think maybe there's a little bit of exaggeration going on. That was my only thing.
Yeah. But you were just saying, she said that it happened in other countries. Well, it's happened here, too. And,
but I don't think we've seen anything along the lines of an explosion of that type. I mean, once again,
no.
I mean, there's obvious danger. Frank, so many people on the membersnutrition.com super text line are guessing. And I don't know if you want to say or not, but the ones off the top of my head are, I think Craftsman would be red, Milwaukee's red, Honda's red.
It's Milwaukee.
There you go. Well, I like Milwaukee brands of products. Good stuff.
And one of the other cons is it was very expensive. But it was expensive because it's the best one.
Well, there you go.
The only cons were it's expensive and the color red is divisive. Everything else was positive about it.
Well, I would note that in my experience, the color red, Frank, is quite divisive in as much as I've known a few redheaded women in my time. I mean, hell, Pamela Furr is a good example. I mean, come on. You want to talk about divisive? I'm only bringing this up because I happen to know the redheaded stranger is listening right now, and she deserves it. It's 152 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, I mentioned this story earlier today, and I thought maybe I'll just share the audio with you. Now, I understand that this was from a number of years ago, but it's still a delicious 40 seconds. Woman claims that her dog turned vegetarian, and so they put it to a test on live television. Here it is.
And she seemed to perk up, be a lot happier.
Does she like it straight away? Like you put that food down, she doesn't turn her nose up?
She likes more of the wet food type thing.
Yeah.
It's more palatable as she's drinking loads of water. But no, really took to it.
2 bowls here, right?
Oh, no.
One is full of vegetables and one is full of meat.
Oh, here comes Storm.
Right.
Storm, we hate to put the temptation in front of you,
You
but
ready
it's
for
over you.
lunch, Storm?
Right?
Oh, I'm
let her go.
Should I let her go?
Let her go.
Oh, she's obviously going to go. Obviously. Oh, you little...
Yes.
I didn't swear.
And there is.
There it is. The dog is just chowing down on the meat. There it is. There, you can find that on my social medias at Matt Murphy Show. Dan is in Clarksville. Hey, Dan.
Hey, I got a comments about how Joe Biden does things. He did quid pro quo to fire that
In his pants.
but Trump gets blamed.
No? Okay. Sorry.
And then the DOJ hides Hunter's laptop for a year, but they blame Trump for hiding his stuff. They get the virus Trump finds and uses, but the left says don't use it until Joe gets in office. How can they get away with all this stuff when what's going on?
Well, they get away with it in a lot of ways. I mean, it's a deep question. I mean, it's a deep subject, and I'm a shallow mind. But I will say this, Dan. They largely get away with it because the mainstream media is in bed with the political Democrats, and they highlight the things the Democrat Party wants them to highlight, and they subvert or spike the stories that are negative for the Democrats. Had they treated the Joe Biden laptop story with the attention that it deserved, I don't think that Joe Biden would be president of the United States right now. And I think the political left knows that, and I think the mainstream media knows that. The FBI knows it too. And the FBI's involvement indicates to me that we need a gutting of the deep state to include a dismantling of the FBI. And hopefully that'll happen when Donald Trump becomes president again. We'll be back in a moment.
Two o'clock, I'm Mac Morey with your top story. 79 degrees, a sunny day in Nashville. Got a complete weather forecast in just a couple of minutes. It's the middle of day one for jury deliberations in Donald Trump's hush money trial. And for now, there's little details on which way the jury could be leaning. Aaron Katersky outside the courthouse in Manhattan with more.
We won't really know the status of where the jury might be. Maybe they took a little straw poll at the beginning to find out where everybody is. Maybe they started to look back at some of the evidence. They do have a laptop of all nearly 300 exhibits, and they are trying to reach consensus on a question of whether Trump falsified business records 34 times in order to conceal this hush payment.
And when deliberations began this morning, former President Trump said outside the court that, quote, not even Mother Teresa could beat these charges. Here in Tennessee, tourism and visitor spending in Nashville is breaking records and expected to remain strong. Music City saw a record 16.8 million visitors in 2023. That's a 4% increase over 2022's 16.2 million visitors. And 2024 is on pace for 17.5 million the following year in 2025. Future years indicate steady growth to 18.1 in 27, the year the new Nissan Stadium is scheduled to open. That's the latest news. Weather's on the way. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Hey, friends, Matt Murphy for the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. Are you hurting? Tell me where you're hurting. Is it in your back, lower back, upper back, mid-range? Is it spinal in nature? Is it soft tissue? Is it your neck or your knee or your elbow or your hip? Wherever you hurt, let me tell you, the Dr. Gill Center has a pain alleviation for you. And without having to rely on pills, without having to rely on needles, and without having to consider surgery. It's what it's all about, folks. You want to get pain-free in a more natural way without having to pop pills or just cover it up. And that's what the Dr. Gill Center does. They brought spinal decompression technology to Middle Tennessee. I mean, would you want to go to those who follow up later on down the road on these modern technologies, or do you want to bring the originator of the technology into your life? And that's what the Dr. Gill Center is. I mean, they're the ones that brought it to the Middle Tennessee area, and they can help you with spinal decompression or red light therapy. They have their Class 5 laser system that can help with soft tissue therapy. It's all designed to alleviate that pain. So if you have pain in your life, let's get to the source of that pain and eliminate it through the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. I know I've done it, and my back pain is gone. Thank you to the Dr. Gill Center. Give them a call at 615-882-4838. 615-882-4838 for the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin. I got to tell you, it's hour number 3 of the Matt Murphy Radio Show. I guess I don't have to tell you, but I will. It's 2:05. Good afternoon and welcome as we watch. Well, we don't watch. We're not looking at the Donald Trump jury deliberating, but we're watching as the breathless reporting continues from CNN and other networks. Hashtag never CNN. As the count-up clock continues, 3 hours and 35 minutes and counting. Would you do me a favor? Would you find whatever trash channel has MSNBC and see if the 2 clocks are still not jiving? I don't know why this amuses me the way that it does. And by the way, you're welcome to be a part of the show, 615-737-9986. Cameron Smith will be along directly in his normal Wednesday position on these airwaves. He is running a little bit tardy. We will welcome Cameron moments from now. So this morning, CNN throws up this count-up deliberation clock, which is stupid. And they have like, there's 7 men and 5 women on the jury, as if that matters. And MSNBC, pretty soon after, I was thinking maybe we could do it this way, Belle. We could just do it via the channel here. MSNBC has their clock up, and the clocks are different. Like, I don't want to watch an HD. What? I don't want to watch the gourmet food. What the hell's going on now? So let's see if
Gourmet Food Network is by far more interesting than MSNBC.
I would be willing to bet they get better ratings.
Without a doubt.
There they are. There's MSNBC. Let's see if they still have this stupid clock up. No, I don't want to watch an HD. Let's see. Live inside the Trump trial. Oh, they do. Theirs says 3 hours and 27 minutes. So let's go back to CNN. Theirs say 3:27. CNN says 3:37. They're 10 minutes. They can't even agree on. Hello, the jury. So the MSNBC folks say that they've been deliberating for 3 hours and 27 minutes. The CNN people said they've been deliberating for 3 hours and 37 minutes. And I am dumber for having this discussion. In the meantime,
I did want to apologize for taking so long. I watch MSNBC so little, I was having to look up the channel it was on.
I know. It's a little embarrassing. I couldn't find it either, but I finally got it. It's as if leftists want me to hate Dolly Parton. So
that's not possible.
I know that, but it's as if they're setting me up to dislike Dolly Parton. And I love Dolly Parton. I am on record as saying that I find her to be the finest human being walking the face of the earth. And I challenge you to tell me who's better, because there isn't one. There just isn't. Not only is she a tremendous entertainer, a tremendous human being, she is so gracious and good to the people around her. She is such a giving and loving soul. And she's a fabulous singer, and has been for many, many years. And she taught me about, I like to say that I never remember a time in my life where I didn't know that I was interested in women. But I remember the exact moment when I knew what type of woman I was interested in. And it's when Dolly Parton walked down the stairs in the fabulous feature film, The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. And I'm like, okie dokie, there you go. It was on Cinemax, and I wasn't supposed to be watching it, and I was 12 years old.
I was in my head, I'm like, I wonder if his grandparents knew he saw that.
Heck no. Yeah, it's funny. My grandpa, we had cable, obviously, and my grandmother convinced him to let her get HBO and Cinemax. It was a big deal. Big deal for us. My grandpa was kind of against it, but he allowed it to happen. So we would watch these shows, and, back in the day, you're just watching a movie, you don't know. PG, R, whatever. My grandfather's way of telling, because we didn't have remote control, for goodness sake. We had a Zenith television, and
you were the remote control.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Do you remember the slide box for cable?
Yes.
That little slide thing. So I remember that box would be on the top of the television, and my grandfather's way of saying that we were watching something inappropriate would be to say, whether it's cursing or nudity or whatever, he would let it go on for a second. With the kids in the room. And then he would mumble under his under his breath a little bit. Get a little raunchy. That was it. Getting a little raunchy was code for you need to get up and change the channel.
If you had been busted watching Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, who would have been more upset with you, your grandfather or your grandmother?
Oh, my grandmother.
By a long shot, probably, right?
Without question. I mean, my grandfather might have feigned some sort of upset, but there's a certain age where, I mean, the raunchy era was more like 9 or 10.
It would have been a similar situation to like when you mooned the class. He would have found it entertaining, but couldn't act like he did.
My grandpa thought that was funny. I think I told you he told me that, what was it? The basic sentiment was, you get away with it once, but second time around, it's red mood and rising, and that totes a butt whipping.
Yeah, you said he came in the room.
Let's go hunting. I thought he was going to kill me.
Do you know what's going to happen if you do that again? Yep. And okay, let's go hunting.
Yeah. He's like, I got to pass on the one, but the number 2, there's going to be trouble. And we went hunting. I was suspended for 3 days. We hunted. Anyway, the reason that I bring up Dolly Parton is that Rolling Stone magazine has now come out, and I don't know why I care. I don't really, but Rolling Stone has come out with their top 200 country songs of all time. And I have the top 20, and I'm going to run down the list. You'll love number 20, Belle. I don't think I've ever heard this song in my life. At least I don't know it by title. Taylor Swift, Mean. Do you know this song?
Oh, yeah, that was a huge hit for her.
Was it? Okie doke. I mean, I believe you. Number 19, Charlie Pride, Kiss an Angel, Good Morning. Number 18, Lefty Frizzell, If You've Got the Money, I've Got the Time. I'm all good with these so far. Number 17, Ernest Tubb, Walking the Floor Over You from 1941. Love that one. Buck Owens checks in at number 16, I Got a Tiger by the Tail. Great song. The Carter Family, Can the Circle Be Unbroken? Obviously, it's such an iconic song that meant so much to the genre. At number 15. 14, Loretta Lynn, Coal Miner's Daughter. Number 13, Bob Wills, New San Antonio Rose. Bob Wills is Still the King is also a great song by Waylon Jennings. Number 12, Glenn Campbell, Wichita Lineman. Number 11, Kitty Wells, It Wasn't God Who Made Honky Tonk Angels. Great song. Number 10, George Strait, Amarillo by Morning. Okay. Number 9, Merle Haggard, Mama Tried. I think Holding Things Together is a better song, but I'll just stay right here and drink. It's also a better song. But Mama Tried's good. Number 8, Stand By Your Man, Tammy Wynette. Number 7, Jimmy Rogers, Standing in the Corner. Number 6, Ray Charles, You Don't Know Me. No, that's not. Is that country?
I would say no, but you got to remember when this era that you're discussing right now was when music was much more just,
Yeah, I mean, I understand that there was that Chet Atkins, that Nashville sound thing that they were doing that Ray Charles kind of fell into.
And there was a diversity to country back then that you didn't have, that you don't have now.
I just don't. Number 5, George Jones, He Stopped Loving Her Today. Number 4, Hank Williams, I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry. Number 3, Patsy Cline, Crazy. Number 2, Johnny Cash, I Walk the Line. And the number 1, according to Rolling Stone, the number 1 country music song of all time. And if I had better prepared, I would play you some, but I didn't. Jolene by Dolly Parton. Belle, do you think Jolene is the greatest country music song of all time?
I don't even count that as the best Dolly Parton song.
I don't either. I love Jolene.
Yeah, I think it's a great song, but I don't think it's the best. For me personally, I would go with Coat of Many Colors before that one, and that's not even her best song.
Man. I Will Always Love You is just rip your heart out, especially if you know the backstory.
Yeah.
She wrote I Will Always Love You on the same day that she wrote Jolene. That's one of my favorite stories to tell about country music and songwriting. It's incredible. But I don't know that it's not the best song of all time, for goodness sake. I mean, He Stopped Loving Her Today.
For me at my age, if I had to pick a Dolly Parton song that most represented her to me, I would go with 9 to 5. Because that came out when I was a kid. That was probably my most proper introduction to her. And I don't even necessarily know if I would call that her best song.
Well, one way or the other, what does Rolling Stone know? And I Love You, Dolly, regardless of whether or not it's the number 1 song or not. Ann has a thought on Trump trial. Hello, Ann. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm very good. Well, when you were discussing the ladies with the big butts, I have noticed when I see the drawings of the people like the judge and Trump and the lawyers and stuff, it looks like a fabulous artist, but have you noticed they all look angry or scared? Have you noticed he's put an angry expression or their mouth is down and like an upside down circle? Have you noticed that?
Wait, are you talking about on the artist rendition of the trial itself?
Yes.
You know, I don't know that I have. I mean, he typically, I've noticed that anytime Trump is displayed, there's almost kind of a scowl.
Yes.
But I would have to, I can't say that I have specifically noticed it, but I'll try to look for it.
Well, make notice and let me know what you think. Because today I happened to look up and it was on, and there were 2 younger people sitting beside it. He does every age group, every person that I saw had an angry. The judge looked like he'd been startled because he doesn't want to look mad. He wants to win. So, but nobody has any kind of pleasant look, and none of them even had a plain old, I'm just sitting here thinking nothing. They all looked angry.
Well, if I had to sit around that courtroom, I would kind of look angry too.
I probably would too.
You know.
But I wouldn't want the guy drawing me like that. And you know what my lawyer said?
No, I mean, I don't know how these people do. You know, I mean, I know this is not necessarily your point, Ann, and point well taken. I mean, it might be that this is more of a left of center courtroom sketch artist, and they've decided just to do that. But I don't know how you would go about doing that. You know, how you would get those sketches out so quick.
Yes, have to be gifted, and I can see the artistry. It almost looks like watercolor. Really good artistry, but no one has a pleasant look. I mean, even just I don't mean to say blank look, but you know what I'm saying, undecided look. They all just look angry, which I wonder if he decided or if he even realizes he's doing them that way. They're like caricatures. They all look angry.
Yeah, might not even recognize it. Miss Ann, thank you.
All righty. Have a good day.
You do as well. I appreciate you. It's 17 after the hour. 3 hours and 48 minutes if you're going by the hashtag NeverCNN clock. 3 hours and 38 minutes if you're going by the MSNBC clock. I mean, you know, you take your pick. Into jury deliberation. Judge Merchant is off the bench for now. What does that mean? They're preparing a jury. The jury is asked for Cohen's testimony on the Trump Tower meeting, Pecker's testimony on the decision not to fund McDougal's story rights.
For gosh sake, watch your language.
So it sounds like they're still trying to figure out if what they believe that this catch and kill thing was a thing or if it wasn't a thing. And who knows what the jury is truly going through and deliberating right now, almost 4 hours in. It's 2:18. We'll check in with Cameron Smith in a moment from the Tennessee, and that's next on Super Talk. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. You know, most of the information you get about investment comes from people selling investment product. Well, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to try to sell you their investment product. Sadly, a lot of people fall for this. At Paul Winkler and Paul Winkler, Inc., you'll get none of this. Paul Winkler wants to educate you because it's so important. Investment is not like anything else you do. When you think of hiring someone like a contractor, you typically look at how good of a job they've done for someone else. The problem with investment markets is they go up and down, and it makes it hard to give an honest and earnest analysis. Well, I'm telling you that I trust Paul Winkler with my investments. I am a client. I'm also a paid spokesperson, and I tell you that because we're required to do so. Federal regulations require that, and Paul is going to be on the up and up with that regard. But I'm not paid to be a client of Paul's, and I am because he educates me. He helps me understand what we're doing. Only a small fraction of the people in the financial industry are degreed planners. At Paul Winkler, every office has a chartered financial consultant or a certified financial planner in charge. They want to see you. 615-851-1950, 615-851-1950, or stop by paulwinkler.com. That's paulwinkler.com. He is my why guy. It's Paul Winkler and paulwinkler.com.
The latest on the Donald Trump hush money trial as deliberation continues here today, almost 4 hours into the process, plus some crime here in Tennessee. All coming up 2:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Pardon me for yelling over that music that was shamefully low. Hey, Bell's back, everybody. I only did that for my enjoyment of how I knew that Mac Maury behind Bell's shoulder would react when I said what I said about Bell. Is everything okay in there, Kay? You all right? Everything go good? All good with you? Are you just choosing not to participate in the show in any form or fashion, verbally or otherwise?
You've got a handle on it.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. Hey, Cameron Smith is here of the Tennessee, and he writes for those guys over there, and he makes it a weekly appearance at least.
Yeah, I showed up a little late today.
That's we forgive you.
Yeah, my mom was like, I expect you to be on at 2:00. I'm like, well.
Was your mama giving you the business?
She was.
Good. All right. Thank you, Mama Smith, for listening.
Yes.
God bless you. Love you. I got all the mamas. I got Mama Smith listening. I got Mama Maury listening.
Yeah.
I love it. What's going on in your world?
Oh, she guilted me. She's like, well, I just want to hear the sound of my son's voice. It's been a minute, so I'm going to listen to the radio. I'm like, okay.
She has to listen on the radio.
I called her on the way over here. I was like, well, you're point taken, Mama.
That's pretty bad.
No, I
have to listen to my precious angel. I have to listen to him on the radio.
Yeah, it was glorious. Yeah, not much going on other than all of it. I mean, we got this lovely trial happening, written about, had a Memorial Day piece out. Just a reminder of, hey, there are people that thought this country was worth their lives. We should probably live like it.
Did you see the two knuckleheads, Talib and Omar?
They didn't understand.
They didn't understand the principal purpose. I mean, they were like, well, on this Memorial Day, let's remember that many of our veterans don't have health care, and many of our veterans, like, lady, this is not Veterans Day. That's Veterans Day.
Yeah,
that's in November. This is Memorial Day. These are the people that died.
Health care is not real useful there.
Not really going to help those that died for our country. And they deleted the post. No apology, no whatever. I want to ask you this, because I saw something online that there are a number of sitting Congress people that have reportedly have dual citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that.
Neither do I.
I think if you want to serve in an honest and earnest capacity as a representative of a portion of the citizenship of the United States of America, you should be solely beholden to the United States of America. And you should I don't know how much this is happening, but I was shocked to find out that there are sitting congressmen that have dual citizenship.
Did you ever get that list? I saw that you asked for it.
I did not. I have not. I've not looked online if someone has sent me any of that.
I don't know of anybody off the top of my head, but for me, I agree with you that it's fine if you want to be a dual citizen.
Sure.
But if you want to be in a representative capacity, you might want to have fealty to one or the other.
Right.
Yeah, how do you, I'm representing this nation, also a citizen of not this nation.
American interest, Somalian. American, or whatever.
Or whatever. It could be British. It does not matter to me. It's just, I agree. That to me would be an amendment I would support to the Constitution, because I think that is the dual citizenship. I've never understood. It's a divided interest.
Right.
And
once again, that's fine. I mean, as America, we decide as a society if we're going to allow that, and we allow, where we have certain alliances, we allow those to remain. But yeah, if you're a representative, you don't need to have an official allegiance with any other country except the United States of America. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
I think that's fair. Well, what do you make of? Speaking of Trump trial, we're now almost 4 hours into deliberations, and attorneys are preparing to address a jury note with 4 requests for testimony to be read back. Ooh, it's very exciting. They got a jury note. I mean, the media outlets that are breathlessly covering this all day long, as if nothing else is going on in the world, they're very excited about these jury notes.
This trial, more than anything else in modern media, has helped me realize the narrative is cooked. Even for people like you and me, we're talking about what other people want to talk about. Well, at some level, the news empire, as it were, says this is what we shall talk about. I don't want to talk about Donald Trump's trial every day. And this has been a breathless, wild ride through a weak case. And yes, I understand the historic nature. I understand all the big deal, yay. But this was a weak case to start with. It's a weak case to finish. And if I'm on this jury, I'm still confused.
Well, you've studied the law.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what you did.
Mm-hmm.
It's where you went to, let me see if I can remember. William and Mary?
Yeah, pretty close.
Washington and Lee?
That was my undergrad, Alabama law. I know that it hurts you to say University of Alabama School of Law.
I couldn't remember the undergrad. Is it Washington and Lee?
It's Washington and Lee.
Okay, not William and Mary.
No, different school. I looked at both schools.
Different people. Did you look at William and Mary?
Yes, I did.
Or you just wanted to go where the schools were named after two people?
I wanted to go where I could fly fish, and so I did.
Not a lot of fly fishing in Tuscaloosa?
No. Yeah, you can. You don't know if you want to eat it, but you can.
So, you back to the point. You understand the law. Have you? I mean, I've talked to multiple lawyers about this. The idea, and I understand all of this gets repaired on appeal, and I understand that the prosecution doesn't seem to care.
Right.
But the fact that the prosecution never once clarified what the linkage to create the felony was, and the judge did it in his instructions to the jury. Like, I thought the judge was there to call balls and strikes and not to play favorites. The judge is almost, in a sense, to me, repairing the failures of the prosecution's case in his charge to the jury.
This is sort of, to me, like John Roberts in the Obamacare case, where he, like, reimagined it. It was like, well, no, the thing you argued is not the thing. Actually, here's the thing, and here's why we're going to uphold this law.
Didn't he say that I know they said tax, but I think let's just pretend they meant fine.
Right.
And move forward.
Very much just sort of, just reimagined. And I think the judge here is sort of like, well, I'm going to try to save some face here and help this make some sense. But here's the problem. This is, and I hate to say it, it's just political.
Yeah.
I mean, it was politically driven. This is a case that's bootstrapped. If Trump, like every other politician, had just paid off these women out of his own checking account, there's no case.
I think based on the manner in which the judge has charged the jury, I'm beginning to believe, and this is just my gut, could be completely, totally wrong. This is just my gut talking to me, that all of this boils down to how neutral or anti-Trump the two lawyers in that jury room are. And the reason I say this is because if they are two fair-minded lawyers and they understand the law, they're going to encourage the jury to go one direction. If they are two attorneys that are very anti-Trump, I could easily see a situation where they're convincing the rest of those jurors, hey, we understand the law, and they will nitpick and move around the very problematic nature of the case in order to convince the rest of the people, hey, we can go with guilty here.
And I would hope, as officers of the court, as folks that are charged, when you're a licensed attorney, you have a responsibility to the law itself, your clients, but also to the law itself. Mm-hmm. Because if we don't trust this system, the whole thing falls apart. And so, and you know this, I think Trump's a weirdo on a lot of fronts. In this case, I would absolutely tell folks, if I'm in that jury room, guys, we got to acquit this guy, because this is trying to bootstrap a misdemeanor into a felony based on a fraud that didn't actually defraud anyone.
And giving them choices in the instruction process. It's like, hey, I know that you need to know what creates the felony here. And so here's what you can pick from. New York State tax violation, although there's no accusation that he didn't pay his taxes, but by misreport, somehow that carries over. Or you could go with federal election charges, which is not under the jurisdiction of state court, but whatever. Or you could go with state conspiracy to commit election fraud, despite the fact that there's no secondary individual to commit the conspiracy because Donald Trump's the only one on trial. But all that, you just pick from one of those, and y'all don't have to agree on any of that. Yeah, you like 4 of you guys can pick number 1, and 4 of you guys can pick number 2, and 4 of you guys can pick number. He's still guilty, everybody. I mean, that's what the judge said this morning. He didn't use the same emphasis that I'm using, but I mean, that's what he said this morning.
Well, the thing with Trump on this is this all started because he had some kind of relation. Well, I won't even say that.
Wait, hold your thought. You got to hold your thought because I just looked at Cameron's thought in a moment right after the news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's 2:32 on Super Talk.
2:32, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 80 degrees, mostly sunny here on Music Row. Complete weather forecast 2 minutes away. It's the middle of day 1 for jury deliberations in Donald Trump's hush money trial, and for now, there's little details on which way the jury could be leaning. Aaron Katursky is outside the courthouse in Manhattan with more.
We won't really know the status of where the jury might be. Maybe they took a little straw poll at the beginning to find out where everybody is. Maybe they started to look back at some of the evidence. They do have a laptop with all nearly 300 exhibits, and they are trying to reach consensus on a question of whether Trump falsified business records 34 times in order to conceal this hush payment.
And crime in Tennessee, a shooting happened this morning. It left a teenager with serious injuries. It happened during a party at 2312 Elliston Place. It's a short-term rental property. Detectives said the party may have been a group of recent high school graduates. The investigation into the incident remains ongoing. No suspects yet in custody. That's the latest news. Weather on the way. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Hey, folks, Matt Murphy. Defend Systems is a life safety security consultation firm based right here in Middle Tennessee, led by my good friend Brink Fiddler. I met Brink when he was taking care of Cumulus Nashville and our needs as a business, and I want him to take care of your needs as well. And I want to tell you about what he does as a security and consultation firm. Their expertise is simply that they have real world and real life experience regarding thousands of hours of high risk law enforcement tactical operations that give them firsthand knowledge and firsthand experience about active shooter response training, workplace violence prevention, site surveys and threat assessment, security consultation, emergency and intruder action plans, rapid response medical training. All of this is customized to your facility, and they will train up your employees as to what to do and what not to do in a dangerous situation. Look, I'm not here to scare you at your school, at your church, at your place of business. Brink isn't either. The odds of this happening to you are low, but they are not zero. We see it all around us on a regular basis here in the United States of America and around the world. And that means that hope is not a plan, folks. It is time to get trained with Defense Systems, the best in the business. DefenseSystems.com or 615-236-6484. 236-6484. It's Defense Systems. You know what the bugs around your house have in common with you? I'm talking about the roaches and the stink bugs and the spiders and the rest of the, centipedes and all these other things that are around your house. You know what they have in common with you? They want to be in your house too. They want to be enjoying the cool air or the warm air or whatever. They just want to be enjoying your stuff. Well, you don't want them enjoying your stuff, and that's why it's time to call U.S. Pest. JK and Erica have just made such a great company out of U.S. Pest, and they are fine Americans. They're good people, and I love the fact that they are as patriotic as they are. Secondarily, I love the fact that U.S. Pest Protection provides the #1 pest protection in Middle Tennessee and all of Tennessee, and I stand behind what they do on a day-to-day basis. Call today to schedule a free pest inspection. Allow them to come in and not only protect your home, termites and bugs and creepy crawlies, all of these things, but also protect your property, and by extension, your pets and your family are protected through U.S. Pest. Go to uspest.com, uspest.com to schedule that free inspection today, or give them a call at 615-590-1260, 590-1260 for the fine folks at U.S. Pest. All right, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. There we go. It's 2:39. In about 12, 13, 14 minutes or so, we'll check in with Brian Wilson, see what's coming up this afternoon. The jury is asking to be read testimony from David Pecker and Michael Cohen as they continue to deliberate 4 hours in on Trump trial. We'll continue to watch that, monitor for you, and let you know if anything comes out of it. Cameron Smith is with us. He writes for the Tennessee and AL.com, amongst other publications, and you hear him weekly on Super Talk 99.7 WTN and the Matt Murphy Show, and anytime I'm absent.
Yeah.
We're good on June 10th, right? Are we good?
Yes. Well,
okay, good.
Since Dan was like June 10th, we're good, right? And I'm like, well, sure, yeah. So I put it on my calendar. We're good.
Well, I told him that I was handling it.
Okay.
Because I have a wedding on the 9th and I have to be at. Anyway, so
That's
we're
fair.
good. I'm good. I just wanted to call you out.
I'm here for your people.
Speaking of calling you out.
Oh, this should be good.
Your mama using some salty language.
She did.
Tell everyone what your mother said to you.
Well,
so back up.
Mom's listening. She hears me on the air talking about, her guilting me into, checking in with her, which I should. I should be a good son.
She's like, I get to hear your voice on that show.
She hears it. And my mom, Karen, I'll say her name. She is Karen. Mm-hmm. She knows everybody. So people hear her and then they hear me talking, then they call her and they're like, here's what he said. And so my mom, she called me, you turkey. I was referred to as a turkey.
You got called a turkey?
I did. I showed you it.
I think it did.
It got wild.
So, I mean, but you showed me the text.
I did.
It was in all caps.
All caps.
And I feel like, and I, to my knowledge, I don't think I've met your mom. I'd love to.
You may have met her. I don't know.
Well, one way or the other, I feel like she said, you turkey.
Yeah, she did. Just like that.
Love that.
My mom makes up turkey is obviously a word we know. My mom also makes up words that, for example, small gifts of appreciation she refers to as happies. So sometimes she'll just get you a happy.
I just got you a happy.
Yeah, just a little happy.
That's
so
sweet.
She's you don't mess with Killer K. She gets it done.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
My grandpa used to make up words too.
Yeah.
They were not nearly as
my mother-in-law.
Terrible.
My mother-in-law. She no joke. What do you call that Italian ham that it's real thin slice, starts with a P?
Pepperoni.
Well,
no,
prosciutto.
Prosciutto? I see. I'm not the guy because I screw that one up.
She calls it prosciutto. She just stops.
Prosciutto.
There's an O. Prosciutto.
Yeah, there's an O.
Yeah,
there's
very
definitely
Italian.
an O.
She calls it prosciutto.
My grandfather would get upset if we heard curse words unless he was saying them when I was a kid. But I learned how to curse from my grandfather.
Right.
I mean, he taught me the fine art of dog cussing a bulldozer or a tractor or whatever. But, I mean, it was only until I got into my teenage years, like teenage and beyond, that he started diverting, and he would say words like hammer instead of the curse. And I was like, why is it? And then I thought, my grandpa is older now, and he's worried about having to face the Lord. It's like I completely believe that he diverted away from the curses. Like, well, I got to kind of make amends.
Yeah, I've always wondered when I, faced Jesus, whether he's going to be like, I got this list of profane things you said.
Uh-oh.
I mean, I don't.
And we got a lot of time.
If that's what we're focused on, that's, I don't know.
It's going to be a long line.
There's a lot of Southern stuff that comes out of the Bible in First Hesitations where it's, thou shalt not use the F-bomb on Sunday, but on Thursday it's fine.
Well, I actually was having a discussion with an online troll because you know me. I get a little brown water in me, and I go right after the trolls on social media.
As you do.
Sure. I mean, and by the way, kids, remember, buzzed Tweeting is drunk tweeting. So I engaged these folks, and we got to some point, and I am clear. My cursing is a vice. I know that it is. I probably should be better, but I'm not. And I say on social media, been known to cuss. It says it right there in my bio, right up front. You're going to maybe see a curse word or two if you're following me. And so I'm having this back and forth, and I say the S-bomb to this person, and they're like, well, I didn't realize that you were anti the Lord. And I'm like, and they said that it was, and is the S-bomb like against God?
I don't think so.
I don't think it is either.
Well, Jesus said he spoke Hebrew, so he was just rolling with whatever.
I mean,
it's probably lost in translation.
I mean, I understand that there are certain words that are clearly defined in the Bible as being anti our Lord, particularly taking the Lord's name in vain, obviously. But most other curses are societal in nature, right? They're just cultural places that
when
we don't go.
When Jesus was throwing out the tax collectors from the temple, I'm sure he was, get it out of here. Get it. But he said it in a different language. And so somebody long time ago translated that in English, and they just wrote down stuff. Get it out of here. Stuff.
Get your poop.
Yes. I mean,
by the way, we have a lot of people calling you a jive turkey on the Members Nutrition Super Text line.
Not quite that old.
I would give,
and they're all your mother.
I would give a large donation to a charity of Karen's choosing if she would call the radio show and call her son a jive turkey on the radio.
No.
I would do that. I would do it. Please, Karen, give a call.
No.
Please. I mean, look, I'm looking at Cameron. I think I've got him blushing a little bit.
No, my mom. Get my dad on here. Dad has lots of thought about political things. Mom can keep it in the middle of the road. I don't know about Dad. Dad gets wild.
Speaking of wild, so I made the reference to the Samuel Alito case. It's a story that I've been wanting to cover for some time, and a caller brought it up. And I go back to my theories about liberals and dealing with liberals in a political world. And two things that you can count on with leftists is that they think you're dumb. They think anyone that disagrees with them is either too racist or dumb to understand their point of view. And if you were a little less dumb or a little less racist, you would understand their point of view.
Sure.
And number two, by extension, they tend to, if they think they have a winning hand, overplay it. And for some reason, they thought they had a winning plan or hand with the Clarence Thomas gift thing. And, you can say what you will. If you think it looks bad, whatever. But there's nothing illegal or impermissible about what Clarence Thomas did. And then they move on to Samuel Alito, which, the Clarence Thomas piece, that's one thing. Hey, there's some questions about him receiving gifts. Now we get into the arena of overplaying our hand, which illustrates to me that it was never about Clarence Thomas. It's always about the conservative court and how they hate the court. They're going after Alito for this flag thing.
I don't get it. So this
they
to me,
get to define what's okay and what's not okay now?
I've got a column out on this, or it should be coming out, that just points out that, so you know how I've criticized the right for, a lot of Republicans are there saying, well, everything is a scam, everything's a political prosecution, because very clearly this case right now against Trump is a political prosecution. It's like, though the legal system is corrupt, everything's corrupt, right? That's too broad. The left criticizes Republicans for that, and at the same time tries to discredit the Supreme Court because they don't like its current ideological makeup. They don't like the opinions coming out of the Supreme Court. So Chuck Schumer's threatened them. Like we've seen this from the left where they behave extremely poorly, and then they criticize the right and say, see how you're undermining the legal system? Guys, do you know that all the Democrats have been talking about how this might not be a legitimate court? This Supreme Court, no, you can't trust them. Like
because it's Trump appointed.
Right. Schumer said you'll reap the whirlwind or something like that for doing their job. And to me, this is politicians saying when things don't go our way or we don't like something, then it's not legitimate. And that's just not true.
They are attempting to fracture the very system of government that they simultaneously claim to be defending.
Right. Yes, 100%.
They're like, oh, Trump is this huge threat to democracy. And oh, by the way, the Supreme Court is illegitimate.
Yeah. You want to know what a threat to democracy is right now? The political class. Because
absolutely.
They are saying we alone can be trusted. Don't trust these institutions. Don't trust these systems and structures. Trust us because we're the good guy, the one you like, which is all politicians have ever said. And so that's why you should be extremely careful anytime they're making these broad generalizations because guess what? In America, in a lot of courtrooms, you can get a very fair trial. There's prosecutors that are really good that try to make good decisions and don't put people in jail for no reason. There's certainly some bad ones. You know, our system, our structures appointed by the Constitution, they actually work. And hey, going to church on Sunday is pretty good too.
We've been accused of blasphemy on the membersnutrition.com super text line.
I just said you should go to church on Sunday.
No. Somebody accused us of blasphemy.
What did we do?
6830 said blasphemy is a turnoff. I'm shutting off my radio now. Well, we'll never know because they shut off their radio. So
well, and I'm not trying to turn you guys on right now. We're talking politics here. It's a little weird.
There's a lot of conversation about the curse words that we won't be able to get into, but we'll get into something with Brian Wilson in a moment, find out what he's getting into this afternoon on The Drive, and that's coming up next on Super Talk. Checking in a couple of minutes with Brian Wilson. He's got a big lineup on the drive this afternoon on Super Talk 99.7 WT, and I have no doubts. We'll do that momentarily from now. Cameron Smith has lost me a listener officially. It's official, Bell, on the Members Nutrition Super Text line. You have lost a listener. You owe me a listener.
Cameron.
Yes.
He needs no help in that regard.
That's exactly right.
Please stop and stay
Well,
in
I heard he's been hollering at politicians and doing all kinds of wild things on the air.
Got a lot of discussion last night.
Yeah. I mean,
the little event we were attending.
I'll have to bring him back. We'll get you one.
I mean, every person last night, wanted to know what the heck I did with Kerry Roberts, and everybody said they liked him, right? They're like, we like Senator Kerry Roberts. I'm like, I'm sure I would like him too. I just, you don't.
He's a good man.
It's not personal. It's just, I don't like it when I feel like politicians are lying.
This is where I come in, that politicians respond to pain. They just do. And if you think your politician isn't part of the problem, you're wrong. And so holding all of them accountable, and when they say things that they shouldn't say, we got to get over this, like, bending the knee to the political class. When they say something that's weird, it doesn't make sense, they need to be called out on it, even if you like them. Matt will call me up.
It's only the other guy.
Right. It's always the other guy. Not my guy. The other guy. No, it's your guy. And you got to learn how to disagree and be criticized without losing your mind. I mean, we go at it all the time, and still love you.
Well, 6830 is over it.
Well, I hate
6830 says, blasphemy is a turnoff. I'm shutting off my radio now. And I said, who did that? And he or she said, you two.
Okay.
And I said, I'm sorry you feel that way. I don't know how we blasphemed. Thank you for listening. To which 6830 said, I'm not listening to your show anymore.
So they wouldn't know if we cheated. Okay.
Well, and I said at all. May I ask specifically why? I just don't understand what we did.
Well, you did it.
I mean, if I blaspheme, I want to know it.
Well, Karen escalated. She called me a turkey butt now. Yeah.
Mama Karen?
Yeah.
Mama Smith called you a turkey butt?
Mom said, in the words of your grandfather, you turkey butt.
You're in trouble.
Woo.
You're in deep.
Oh, I'm not.
No, I also saw, you showed me that text, and it said no more happies for you.
She can't help herself.
Well, she clearly said no more happies.
She's been dealing with me for 42 years, and she knows she can handle me.
You want to offer a fearless prediction on this thing, hung jury?
Hung jury.
Let's check in with Brian. Let's check in with Brian Wilson of The Drive for the last couple of minutes of our show to find out where he is on all of this. I'm sure he is, like the rest of us, anxiously watching the jury deliberation clock on #NeverCNN and MSNBC. Have you ever seen such, Brian Wilson?
We are now 4 hours and 28 minutes into deliberation. And the news is that the jury sent out a note, and they're asking for some of the testimony, which is not surprising, given that we've all forgotten how this thing, has developed over time. It's been such a long, drawn-out process. So,
right.
I don't know. I think that the judge's instructions were very weird and included some stuff that I've never heard of before, that you don't have to have a unanimous verdict to get a conviction. It's really strange, and I'm going to try to explain that as best I can. It doesn't make any sense to me. But once again, an example of Judge Juan Merchan putting his thumb on the scale, and it's maddening.
How can you not understand? I mean, how do you explain unanimous without unanimous?
Right.
Explain that.
You split it up.
It's nuanced law, I'll tell you that for sure. But everybody's sort of scratching their head saying, what in the world does this mean? How does this work? You always have to have a unanimous verdict of the jury, but not in this particular courtroom. Apparently, the rules are different. So we'll dig into that, and we'll have some of the top minds of the legal world giving us their understanding as best they can figure it out, because they're scratching their heads too.
It's almost as if the judge was saying, and I'm kind of paraphrasing him, but hey, it doesn't matter how you disagree on all of this as long as you all say guilty.
Yeah.
Right.
And in some form or shape about one of the charges. I mean, it's just bizarre. So, I mean, I think that Trump is right. He says, Mother Teresa couldn't beat the way this instructions were given to the jury. And he may be right. So let's say there's a conviction. There is so much reversible error in this trial, I don't even know where to begin. So I don't read too much into it. The question is going to be, what will the punishment be if there is a guilty verdict? Will he actually go to jail? And how would that work? I mean, I think that Trump, if he spent, I could see the judge saying, you're going to have to spend one night in jail at least. And I could see that being the biggest thing that helps the Trump campaign since he came down the escalator.
Well, we'll see. It doesn't look like we'll see a verdict this afternoon, but we never know.
They're going to check out about 4:30 their time, 3:30 hours is what I've been told. So,
all right, Brian. Well, we look forward to the drive coming up. 4 full hours of analysis and news, along with a heavy dose of opinion from Brian Wilson and the drive right after McMorris Newscast. McMorris Newscast is coming right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We'll be back for a fun-filled Thursday edition of The Murphy Show tomorrow, starting at high noon. Until then, have a wonderful afternoon, folks. Hug your loved ones. So long, everybody.